Hello friends, I am Ruby Unial, Head, Department of Psychology, KTHM College, Nasik. In our previous video, we have seen about the nature of the counseling process. In today's video, let us have a look at the stages of counseling. The counseling process is a planned, structured dialogue between a counselor and a client. It is a cooperative process in which a trained professional helps a person called the client to identify sources of difficulties or concerns that he or she is experiencing. Together, they develop ways to deal with and overcome these problems so that person has new skills and increased understanding of themselves and others. For example, students in a college or university may be anxious about how to study. They find difficulty with regards to adjustment problems. Sometimes there is a change of college, there is change of friends, change of situations, and they find it difficult to cope up with this changing times. There is lack of clarity on educational or career direction. They have difficulty living with a roommate of another region. They have concerns with self-esteem, feelings with being stressed out, difficulties in relationships, and so on. So there are a number of issues for which they may consult a psychologist. Broadly, the counseling process can be given in 5 different stages. The step 1 is relationship building, step 2 problem assessment, step 3 goal setting, step 4 intervention, and finally step 5, that is evaluation, follow up, termination or referral. The first step involves building a relationship and focuses on engaging clients to explore issues that directly affect them. The first interview is important because the client is reading the verbal and non-verbal messages and make inferences about the counselor and the counseling situation. Is the counselor able to empathize with the client? Does the client view the counselor as genuine? This stage includes the initial meeting of client and counselor or therapist, rapport building, information gathering, goal determination, and informing the client about the conditions under which counseling will take place. For example, confidentiality, taping, counselor or therapist or client roles. Now, there are also some non helpful behaviors that the counselee may come across. There are several lists of non helpful behaviors. Most common among them include advice giving, lecturing, excessive questioning, storytelling, asking why, or asking how did that make you feel. So, when there is a relationship that is building between the counselor and the counselee, there are many factors that have to be considered because it is this meeting wherein the counselee will actually develop trust with the counselor. So, if this relationship building does not work, definitely the further counseling process will collapse. So, this is a very important part of the counseling process. So, what happens most commonly is the counselor engages in non helpful behaviors, what are listed here, in advice giving. The layman usually considers that counseling is something that is giving advice, but in the further lectures, we will know that advice giving is not at all a part of counseling. Similarly, the counselee will not feel comfortable with a counselor who lectures him. So, lecturing is again non helpful behavior. Excessive questioning, that is asking too many questions. Storytelling, many a times what happens is the counselor himself gets involved in the process and he tries to tell his own stories in order to motivate the counselee. But somehow these behaviors are non-helpful behaviors. Then we have to see actually what the state of the counselee is. So while we are asking questions, the questions no doubt have to be probing questions, but asking lot of why questions or asking questions, how did that make you feel? These may sometimes make the counselee more uncomfortable. Now, let us have a look at some of the steps that the counselor can take for good relationship building. So, the first thing is introduce yourself in a pleasant manner. Invite client to sit down. Many a times the counselor is not aware and does not take cognizance of the counselee. But when the person has come to you for counseling, there are small things that one has to be very careful about. So you have to greet the person, treat him with lot of warmth and compassion, and this will help build the relationship. Ensure that the client is comfortable. So once the client has come to your cabin, make sure that he is comfortable with the surroundings. You can always ask him if he is comfortable. Address the client by name. That is, you can ask for the name and then in the further conversation, call him by his name so that he is more comfortable in this relationship. Invite social conversation to reduce anxiety. So initially when the client is in front of you, so rather than directly asking personal questions, one can begin the conversation with some social issues, or there can be something that is not personally related to the client so that it reduces his anxiety. Watch carefully for non-verbal behavior as signs of client's emotional state. So, when the client is in the cabin, it is very important for the counselor to watch the client very carefully. So, sometimes clenching of fists, or many a times they fiddle with their dress or with the handkerchief or with the furniture. So, one has to be careful and must observe all this non-verbal behavior. Invite client to describe his or her reason for coming to talk. So once you are done with the initial rapport building, then you can invite the client to describe what is the exact reason for what he is seeking guidance. Allow client time to respond. So when the client is in front of you, one has to not bombard questions one after the another, but rather after asking a question, one must give some pauses so that the client gets sufficient time to respond. Indicate that you are interested in the person. So it is very important for the client to know that you are interested in him and you are interested in understanding his problem. After the initial relationship building stage is the next stage, that is problem assessment. It involves the collection and classification of information about the client's life situation and reasons for seeking counseling. This stage, which depends on information gained during the previous stage, is characterized by increased activity for all parties involved. The counselor's or therapist's activities include facilitating, demonstrating, instructing, and providing a safe environment for the development of change. The client's activities focus on re-evaluation, emotional and cognitive dynamics, trying out new behaviors both inside and outside of the sessions, and discarding those that do not meet the goals. Step 3 is goal setting. Like any other activity, counseling must have a focus. Goals are the results or outcomes that client wants to achieve at the end of the counseling. Sometimes you hear both counselor and client complain that the counseling session is going nowhere. This is where goals play an important role in giving direction. So, in the goal setting process, one has to be very careful while defining the goals. Below are some guidelines for goal selection that can be used with clients. So, the goals should relate to the desired end or ends sought by the client. The counselor must first know what exactly is the goal of this counseling process. The goals should be defined in explicit and measurable terms. That means the counselor has to clearly define what he intends to achieve at the end of the counseling session. The goals should be feasible. That means one has to be able to meet these goals. The goals should be within the range of the counselor's knowledge and skills. The goals should be stated in positive terms that emphasize growth. The goal should be consistent with the society's mission and the general health policy. The next step is intervention. There are different points of views concerning what a good counselor should do with clients depending on the theoretical position that the counselor subscribes to. For example, the person-centered approach suggests that the counselor get involved rather than intervenes by placing emphasis on the relationship. The behavioral approach rather attempts to initiate. The next step is evaluation, follow-up, termination or referral. The last phase, that is the step 5, is a very important part of the whole counseling process. This step 5 involves evaluation, follow-up and termination or referral. Termination is an important, though often misunderstood phase of counseling. This is often ignored or taken for granted. Yet, successful termination is vital for the well-being of client as well as counselor. Termination is the end of the professional relationship with the client when the session goals have been met. It is a phase of counseling that can determine the success of all previous phases and must be handled skillfully. A formal termination serves 3 functions. First, counseling is finished and it is time for the client to face their life challenges. Second, changes have taken place and they have generalized into the normal behavior of the client. And third, the client has matured and thinks and acts more effectively and independently. The timing of the termination too is very important. There is no one answer when termination is to take place. Questions the counselor may wish to ask concerning termination include: have clients achieved behavioral, cognitive or affective goals? Can clients concretely show where they have made progress in what they wanted to accomplish? Is the counseling relationship helpful? Has the context of the initial counseling arrangements changed? Sometimes there is a lot of resistance to termination. The clients and counselors may not want counseling to end. In many cases, this may be a result of feelings about the loss and grief or insecurities of losing the relationship. For clients, this is something to process, and for counselors, this is an issue of supervision. Sometimes there is premature termination. From the client's point of view, if you look at it, many clients may end counseling before all goals are completed. This can be seen by not making appointments, resisting new appointments, and so on. It is a good idea to try and schedule a termination or review sessions with the client so closure may take place. At this time, a referral may be in order. From the counselor's point of view, if you look at premature termination, at times counselors have to end counseling prematurely. Whatever the reason for the termination, a summary session is in order and referrals are made, if appropriate, to another counselor. So, introduction of referrals is an important thing. At times, a counselor needs to make a referral. When this is done, specific issues need to be addressed with the client. And what are the reasons for the referral? Some specific behaviors or actions which brought the need for a referral should be noted. And they have the names of several other counselors ready for referral. It is important to remember that the counselor cannot follow up with the new counselor to see if the client followed through, because this is a confidentiality issue. There is an open door plan for possibility of future need. The termination is considered not just an end of successful relationship, but also is considered when it seems that counseling is not being helpful. Think of this as a means of empowering the client. So friends, in today's session we have seen the different steps of the counseling process. The whole counseling process can be divided into 5 steps. Step 1, that is relationship building. Step 2, problem assessment. Step 3, goal setting. Step 4, intervention. And finally, step 5, that is evaluation, follow-up and termination or referral. Today, we have seen the different stages of counseling, and in our next session, we will be discussing something about the role of counselors. Thank you, friends.